Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from August 1st, 2022.
Second.
Second by Mr. Barry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda is discussion items. Brian Sparks with the West Virginia University Extension Service Progressive Farm Safety Day. Mr. Sparks.
Do we need the mic? Are we okay? We're good? Good evening, board, and it's good to be here. Some new faces. I am Brian Sparks with OVU Extension Service, and I'm here to work with you in a partnership that we've been doing 18 years here in the county, and it's called the Progressive Safety Day. And this is a safety day that is geared toward third graders in the county for September 21st at the Nicholas County Veterans Memorial Park. It's a safety session where all the children or all the youth will go through topics that include lawnmower safety, sun safety, tractor and PTO safety, animal safety, ATV safety, and along with some health safety, fire safety, and first aid safety. So these are stations that these youth as a class, for example, let's just use Mount Nebo Elementary, will start in one, and Mount Lookout will start in another session, and these are 15-minute sessions that they'll rotate through and get briefed on these safety topics. We have partnered with the Progressive Foundation, which is a national organization, to be able to cover the youth and the volunteers that work and teach these sessions, provide them t-shirts with the national sponsors on there, and a nice little scene, a rural America scene that these youth will receive. The city of Somersville has always been beneficial in providing us funding to buy every student 2 smoke alarms. And one of the sessions will be for those students to learn how to take that smoke alarm out, pull the tab out, and then where they can work with their guardian to place this in their home, and then also get a fire escape plan put together. And they've also been very well to fund us to buy first aid kits, small ones for the youth. It's also a partnership with the Nicholas County Farm Bureau. They are some of the instructors, and then help with some small funding with some little sideline things. And then, of course, us, the West Virginia University Extension Service, in a partnership with you all, the Nicholas County Board of Education, allowing the third graders to attend and transportation. So, again, I'd like to get your all's approval or answer any questions you may have about this safety day that we put on every fall of the year. And this one again is September 21st for all third graders.
Do you do different grades, or is it always third grade?
It's always third grade.
Why? I'm just curious.
We feel that that is the age that we can make the biggest impact as far as a take-home message and relate this to them, these safety sessions. And that's what I've done for 18 years. That may be a bad one. You know, we've hit every kid as they go through. You know,
I've been to your Farm Safety Day twice, and some other teachers here. It's very interesting and beneficial to the students, I believe.
Thank you.
It's a long day.
Yeah. Especially for that poor instructor that repeats that session 10 to 12 times.
Does it start at 8:30 or 9?
It starts at 8:50.
8:50.
And the transportation director has always been good to work with me on the bus scheduling and making that happen so we can team as many schools up and get in.
That occurs at the park, right?
The Nicholas County Veterans Memorial Park is. So it's a rain or shine deal, so that's the reason I have it there. I have the cabins to be able to scoot in if we have rain or bad weather, or we can have some of the activities outside. So, I
Any
guess,
any questions for Mr. Sparks? Thank you very much.
so I guess we'll get back with some approval or go ahead.
Here shortly.
Okay, all right.
Okay, next on the agenda is the update on enrollment at each school by grade, including the career technical education numbers and out-of-area students.
So I asked Ms. Adkins to pull together all of the information. I will caution you that this is preliminary data. Our certified list is due October the 11th, so this is actually premature. There could still be some movement going on that's not being captured. So anyway, just caution you that these numbers are as solid as they can possibly be without it being approved before the certified list. So what she has is a presentation that she's going to go over, and I also have Kevin here who can help answer questions if you have any financial questions. The student-teacher ratio was established and approved at the RIF transfer season, and we ended up with 6 flex teachers, which of course we can discuss that. Wasn't 6, but there's 3 positions. There's 3 positions though, but the 6 was initial flex, but in 3 is what we ended up having. 1 for Panther Creek, 1 for Birch River. But the Birch River one, it ended up working out to be a split grade. And then we have Somersville Elementary School. So the one that's operating like a true flex would be Somersville Elementary School. Birch River and Panther Creek would be operating more as, they would be operating as a split grade. So in determining these types of things, we have to make sure that we're meeting the state requirements, and we are. Now, if this board decides to employ 2, 3, 5, 10, or 50 positions, that's something this board has the authority to do. But what I'm presenting to you is what was approved before the board that kept us in compliance with the state standards. But again, it is something that if this board chooses to employ more, you absolutely, can do that. So.
Are we getting a hard copy of this?
I can upload it. Chris, can you upload that?
Right now?
Yeah, he can do that right now. So just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea before we get into the numbers of why we created what we call the flex teacher position. This actually replaced what we used to call overflow teachers. And so, for instance, at I think it was Glade Creek Elementary one year, we had first grade that was a couple of people over. So we created an extra first grade position. It was an overflow position. We posted it all year. It was filled with a sub the entire year. When RIF transfer season rolled around, when we were looking at the numbers for the next year, we had someone to move out of the district, so we weren't going to need that position the next year. So we RIF'd that position, and that class moved on to second grade. Well, lo and behold, once school starts, you had 1 or 2 students move back into that, and here we were again with an overflow. So we posted a second grade position that we posted all year and didn't fill, and those same students that were with a substitute teacher all through their first grade year were then with a substitute teacher all through their second grade year. And I think this continued on up to about their third grade year. So you had students who had substitute teachers from first grade to third grade just because, of the way that the enrollment fluctuated. We could never fill them. So actually this was an idea of Tony Nichols when our former federal programs director. So we created this flex teacher, and they have been easier to fill. All of our flex positions are filled. And this ensures that students have access to certified teachers. And so there's greater flexibility with these positions than with overflow positions. The principal can use them however the principal sees fit, however best serves the students in his or her building. And if, as numbers fluctuate and change from year to year, that position can fluctuate and change year to year without needlessly putting people through the RIF transfer process. And that's also that longevity there. You know, when we create overflow positions, they get eliminated. So these positions, we have kept them because the principals do have that flexibility, and we always seem to find a need for those. And it also allows for more individualized instruction based on student needs. So, you know, principals can utilize that to really focus on small group instruction, where they can assist students who are maybe struggling, or to provide enrichment to those, you know, who need enrichment. So that's kind of the idea of the flex teacher when we created that. Oh, what's wrong with it?
And we have Josie Groves here also if you have any questions about how, you know, how those teachers are utilized.
Yeah, so if you look at Birch River Elementary, so they actually have a split grade, third, fourth split grade, but if you look at their numbers in kindergarten, they have 7, first grade 13, second grade 19, third and fourth they have 8 each, and 7 and 5, and that's when they preferred, at that time, they preferred to do that as a split, and the way that's operated. Their school-wide ratio is 1 to 9. They've got 7 staff members, or 7.5, that should be 7.5 staff members, because they got a half Title I teacher.
And I will clarify that. They did not want a split grade. They're adamantly opposed to a split grade. They had a split grade last year, they have a split grade this year. And so when we talked about the flex teacher or just going ahead and doing a split, they opted for the split.
Yes.
But they are in no way happy with having a split grade.
So
Right.
where's the split at again?
Third and fourth grade. See, right here's the number of actual staff, so half teacher, half teacher.
So, but they have a total of 16 children in that one class.
What, correct.
Okay.
Correct. But it is a split grade. For Cherry River Elementary, now their numbers have probably changed more than any schools. Since the beginning of school, we always have a fluctuation of enrollment the first couple weeks of school. Theirs has changed the most. In fact, based on even what we projected for this year and what they ended up with, they're utilizing their flex position as a grade level position. But they have 18 students in kindergarten and first grade, 29 in second grade, 24 in third grade, and 21 in fourth and fifth. They were using a flex position between these two positions, but they lost a third grader, so now I do believe that they're using that as a grade level position. Their student to teacher ratio is 1 to 10.
So go back to that for a second. So you've got 2 second grade teachers with a total of 29 students.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So then Glade Creek is probably, they have the highest student-teacher ratio, them in Summersville Elementary, in the county. And there's just, you know, they're 1 to 18, so they're pretty tight all the way through. For Gully River, it's kind of the same with them, the way that their enrollment has shaken out this fall. I don't believe that they're utilizing a typical flex position. I think the way their numbers have fallen, that they are able to use that as a grade level position. So they've got 56 in kindergarten, 42 in first, 55 in second, 41 in third, 47th in fourth, and 48 in fifth, and their school-wide ratio is 1 to 15.
How many Title I teachers do they have?
They have 1 Title I teacher. Now, these student-teacher ratios include every teacher in their building other than
If they have a self-contained classroom, we're not counting those students in self-contained classrooms, so that includes their special ed teachers, any Title I teachers, any Save the Children positions that they have that are in a classroom, those are included in all of these. So they're 1 to 18, even including their Title I teacher. Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, Golly River, with that Title I is included in that number right there. They have 289 students. For Mount Lookout Elementary, again, no split grades, no flex positions there. 23 in kindergarten, 14 in first, 22 in second, 16 in third and fourth both, and 17 in 5 with a school-wide ratio of 1 to 12. For Mount Nebo Elementary, this is very similar. 23 in kindergarten, which this right here is right at the max. So if they get one more student, then they're over in kindergarten. 13, pardon me?
Excuse me, but they got 4 out of the area.
They have 4 out of the area. Mhm.
So typically, just in the past,
Yes,
if those calls you to go over, they have to go back to where they,
right.
So we always take into consideration if they have siblings in the school.
I know,
And do
there's a
that.
lot to think about.
But
And staff, if staff are teaching in the school, we try to make room for their students as well. So their school-wide ratio is 1 to 14.
we would look at that before hiring,
Oh,
asking
yes.
to hire another teacher.
Yeah.
And those are conversations that principals have had with their students already.
Yes.
At the beginning of the year, when we started having so many students pouring into our schools, I know Mr. Tyree specifically called those students and said, just in case we happen to go over, your child might have to go back to your district. So those are conversations that have been taking place. So if that were to happen, they won't be kind of blindsided by it.
Yeah. And so here's Panther Creek, and I believe now with the new principal that their flex position is operating as a split. And this is also another school that saw pretty significant change in their enrollment numbers from the beginning of the year to currently. I think you picked up 10 or 12 since the start of school. So kindergarten, there's 36, first grade 46, second grade 31, third grade 31, fourth grade 39, and fifth grade 31. And that student to teacher ratio is 1 to 16. And so that would represent, there would be a third, fourth split there.
So now that says there's 2 third grade teachers there?
No, it says actual staff 1.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, required staff 2, 1 and 1,
I see.
so, yeah. So what I did, I kind of adapted what I do when we do RIF transfer stuff, and so it's kind of laid out that way, so it's a 1 to 16 student ratio with a third, fourth split. Summersville Elementary, kindergarten at 49, first grade at 50, second grade at 52, third grade at 44, third grade at 38, and fifth grade at 67. And their student-teacher ratio is 1 to 18. Now, some of these special ed students, I'm assuming that these are, Christy, those are the ones where it says special needs students whose needs can be met at SES. Are those students in the self-contained classroom?
I'm not sure, I can't see because Chris is in the way, sorry. So you're asking,
Says, the information you sent me says special needs students whose needs can be met at SES. I'm assuming that's,
I didn't give you those, I think those numbers came from the school, so those must
Okay.
be, some students, if it's a self-contained classroom, we only have self-contained classrooms at certain schools, so it could
Right.
be that they're from another district, but they have to be
so
there.
we couldn't send them back home. And I will say this about our special ed numbers, because of the new Weavis 2.0 rollout, that has been a nightmare, and we do not have access to special ed numbers in Weavis, so
Across the state.
what we had to rely on was we called principals and said, hey, send me your special ed number, so.
And that's probably most accurate because we've had new kids move in that aren't even showing up on, that I can see on our end, and if we don't have that paperwork in yet, which is just the first of school, that could be
But if we have students who are self-contained, you're going to see out-of-area enrollment because that's one of the schools, Somersville Elementary Schools, where the students go.
Yeah,
Now, am I understanding, if it says required 3, actual 2, that we're 1 short there?
That's
where,
where they're using a flex.
that's where we're using a flex or a split grade. Where are you looking at?
How many flex Summersville Elementary?
Summersville Elementary?
How many flex do they have?
No, Summersville Elementary has one in this, and actually I think, and I didn't get a chance to talk to her, I think that their flex teacher right now is a 2nd grade teacher, because I think here, I think it's a special ed student who's not in the room, but is listed as a 1st grader, if that makes sense. So I think the flex teacher at Summersville Elementary is operating currently as a 2nd grade teacher.
Now, kindergarten, max is 20, they can take up to 23.
23, correct.
First,
Second
second,
and third, it's 25. 4th, 5th, and 6th, they can have up to 28.
right, but you gotta pay them.
Yes,
Now, first, second, third, 25, no extra pay.
correct. Yeah, and you're not allowed to we can't go over in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade per state code. For Zila, we moved the boundaries, the attendance boundaries there, which has kind of helped them out a little bit. Didn't so much in their upper grades because those students remained at Summersville Elementary School.
Oh, wait a minute, you want to go, Somersville Elementary is the one we were short. That's the one they're using the flex teacher on.
Right, so
That
who's
is.
acting as a
Yeah, that was
2nd
the
grade.
3 areas I was talking about.
Yeah.
Somersville Elementary, Panther Creek, and Birch River.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Zila, their kindergarten's at 17, 1st grade 15, 2nd grade 9, 3rd grade 15, 4th grade 16, and 5th grade 8, and their school-wide student ratio is 1 to 10. Now, if you look at Richwood Middle School,
Did Zila's population increase when we had to close the school down below there?
Dixie, I'm sure it did.
About 20 students. We had like 47 or 48 students in Dixie. Only 20 stayed in county. The rest of them was out of county anyways. So they only went up by about 20 students.
And that was before my time.
Yeah.
I haven't consolidated any schools.
You might have to
We'll put that on record.
So we've got, as of today, 230 students enrolled at Richwood Middle School with a school-wide student ratio of 1 to 17. For Somersville Middle School, as of today, there's 558 students with a school-wide ratio of 1 to 18. Richwood High School, as of today, there's 343 students with a school-wide ratio of 1 to 21. And what'd I do? I got
2 of them.
2 of them.
Yeah.
We missed that. Okay, Nicholas County High School, as of today, school-wide enrollment is 735, and their student-teacher ratio is 1 to 22. For the Career Center, I've had to kind of spread this out over several slides. So you'll notice that they're listed twice, but there's an AM program and a PM program, and then we've got it broken down by NCHS, RHS, and homeschool, because homeschool students now are allowed to participate in CTE. So that's through welding. You can see those numbers there. And then we pick up with graphic design and go down through ProStart. And then through nursing down to law and public safety. And then one more page, the Grow Your Own and Careers in Education. And then your total numbers for total enrollment, you've got 198 in the AM and 164 in the PM. So in the AM, 136 students are from Nicholas County High School, 102 in the PM from Nicholas County High School. For Richwood High School, 55 in the AM and 61 in the PM. For homeschool, we got 5 in the AM and 1 in the PM. And then the exploratory, you've got 102 total. 76 from NCHS, 25 from RHS, 1 homeschool, and then we have 91 participating in ROTC. So I kind of ranked where they are.
Do you have a student-teacher ratio for the Career Technical Center?
No, because that,
We do.
It's 1 to 22.
is it? Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Wonder what?
1 to 22.
Thank you.
And one of the things we don't have on there, we have requirements of a percentage of students that have to meet, complete career technical education or be in career technical education programs. We just barely met it. Is it 30%, Tom? Or-
Yeah, I've got hard copies I can get up here in a while, we can kind of look at it.
So it's like 30%, so we're barely meeting it with the number of students we have right now.
So our student to teacher ratio ranking, this is all of the schools, including the high schools. See, Birch River is at the bottom, Nicholas County High School is at the top. And that's all of them, and I'll also have them here for elementary schools. Kind of ranked Birch River at the bottom, Glade Creek Elementary and Summersville Elementary at the top with 1 to 18. Our countywide average is 1 to 14. The state average, now when I was researching this over the weekend, I found numbers ranging for West Virginia from 1 to 14 to 1 to 16. So if you just take the number in the middle as the state average at 1 to 15, either way, that puts us countywide about there. And most of our schools float around this with the exception of, well, you got these down here way on the bottom and then these two up here.
I hate talking about these numbers in front of our board president, since math is his thing.
Yeah.
Keeping track of it.
And then included, what I've got included also in this presentation is our county accountability ranking with math and ELA, and then the average for the elementaries. Well, this is everybody. So for math, you know, here's your top 4. Mount Lookout, Mount Nebo, Glade Creek, Panther Creek is your top 4 for math. And it's amazing Glade Creek does that with the high student teacher enrollment. For ELA, your top 4 schools are Nicholas County High School, Glade Creek, Panther Creek, and Richwood High School. And then for the average ranking, your top 4 schools are Glade Creek, Mount Lookout, Panther Creek, and Nicholas County High School. So the current positions that we have. And Kevin can chime in here if I get in trouble, Kevin, because he's the budget guy. So every year we're allotted a certain amount of funds based on how many positions the Department of Ed says that we should be able to function with. And what they allow us in terms of professional positions is 266.98, professional positions 155.17, service positions. Our total employed, we have 287.59 professional positions and 193.29 service positions. And so the number of employees that were over the formula for, and this is not FTE, which Kevin could maybe help me explain this if I get in trouble, but we're 21.61 positions over for professional and 38.12 positions over on service. Now those aren't like actual head count because what's counted, FTE is a 200-day employee. So employees that we have that work for more than 200 days, they're counted as more than one employee. So he's got an example down here, a 260-day employee is actually a 1.305 FTE, not 1.
Now, in saying all that, that's a pretty high number that we carry, but we're fortunate that we have a levy, and I can tell you that in my discussions with Kevin about this, my entire time here, we've stayed in the black, and we've actually grown our budget and been able to meet our needs. And of course, that's one of the things I've been hired to do. But we have a healthy budget.
Qualify on that. So we're a total of 50, almost 59 employees over what the state will fund. Is that correct?
Correct.
So with that in mind, as you said there, we're thankful that we do have an excess levy. otherwise, we couldn't afford to pay for those teachers. Is that correct? Mr. Hess?
That is correct.
Now, one thing, some of those special ed,
No, this does not include people that are paid for with special ed funds.
no
or
federal money.
No federal money,
That's
no
all
grant
state.
fund,
That's
this is
all- that's all us.
state, right there.
So we pay for all of that.
So it either comes out of state funds or local county funds.
Correct, correct. And I will say, the last couple of years, when we've gone through big transfer season because of, because of COVID, we were very cautious about making cuts. In the last 2 years, I think the first year of COVID, we didn't make any cuts at all, and last year, they were very, very minimal cuts. I don't remember exactly how many, but it was very small.
How many of those are extra positions paid for by COVID money?
None of those.
No.
That's it. This is all us.
Okay.
And we've got to show, so that's where the concerning part comes in. We've got about 26 positions being paid for by COVID.
Right
Those are
now,
going away.
So that's 26 over the 59.
Yes.
correct.
So at the end of this COVID money, which is what, 2 years now?
One, it'll expire at the end of this year, and the rest of it will expire at the end of the following year.
Now,
So we have to cut, at that point in time, we'll have to cut 26 positions. Anything else? in
Or
the
fund it,
Yeah.
$1.3 million, to fund them.
Yeah.
26, how many of those are service? Most of it? Is it-
No, Kevin's got those
He's got
numbers.
the numbers.
The year that we didn't make cuts, because of COVID, we funded those positions with some of the COVID money that we got.
Looks like 14,
So,
about half.
a little over half.
Yeah, yeah.
14 are teachers?
14
Service.
teachers,
14 are service.
Service.
14 are service.
Is that, most of that's probably the
Aides.
extra aid in the first grade?
Yes. Now, my hope is, because last year the legislature had a bill that actually would have funded those permanently, and it passed both houses, but they were different, and so it died in conference committee. So my hope is that we see that bill back this year, and we get that funded, because.
We need it.
We
So
need it.
that was 29 total positions are funded by the COVID money, right?
2026.
26? So 12 of them are teachers, I guess, and 14 are service, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Now, so what the county is on the hook for professional staff is $1.2 million for professional staff and $1.5 million over for service staff. So, roughly $3 million coming out of county funds to fund those extra positions. So, in which, thankfully right now, because of Dr. Teacher's leadership and, Kevin's a good bean counter back there, so we've been very, very fortunate that, that we've been able to fund these positions.
Yeah, we have a healthy budget, but we're very careful with our spending.
Yeah. So, the cost of adding positions, if you go back and you fill in those flex positions, which I'm not even sure we need that at SES right at this point, but to replace all three of those would be a cost at $180,000. You can see if you add a position at SES, that brings your ratio down to 1 to 17. If you add a position at Panther Creek, you bring it down to 1 to 15. And BRE would, of course, come down to 1 to 7. Now, some things to consider when adding these positions. We're currently, and I didn't even have a chance to update the numbers yet, but I think we're about 16 vacancies professionally. And so, this is what I would tell people, say, yeah, we can add the position. I don't know that we can fill it. So what this board will have to weigh is it better to leave those people in a split grade with a certified teacher, or create that overflow position that's likely going to have a sub in it for the rest of the year? I mean, those are the kind of things that you have to weigh. And so, that's really why previously we had gone with the flex, was because it seemed that in the long term it was better to have students in a classroom with a certified teacher, even if it was a split grade, Um,
And it's good to have these discussions, because we did discuss this with the prior board. We discussed all of those different options.
So, just a question further. You did state that right now, we cannot find certified people for 16 positions.
Correct.
In
And-
the county, in this county.
Correct, it's about 16. I didn't get a chance to update those for you today. And I will say that the last several teachers that we've hired, it's been alternative certification. And
I
that's,
think 5, isn't it?
yeah, I don't know, 5 or 6, I've lost count. We've got one on the agenda tonight that's going to be alternative certification, which is a great thing, and we've utilized that here better than a lot of counties have. A lot of counties don't like it, but
It's helping us.
but it is helping us. I mean, there are counties who are canceling classes because they don't have teachers. And we've not been at that point yet, thankfully. So, and that's statewide, it's not just here. It's
No.
statewide, it's actually a nationwide teacher shortage.
So, and all those 16 positions that we don't have filled, do we have subs in those?
There's subs in them, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So-
Now, whenever possible in those positions, we like to fill those positions with retired teachers. But there's lots of times when you can't even fill them with retired teachers. Now, if you refill them with a retired teacher, then that's like having a certified teacher in there, if that's their subject area. But often we've had just regular subs in long-term positions. I know one particular person subbed at Golly River for 2 solid years in a grade level position. She did a great job. But, you know, that's kind of what we're looking at. So, you know, you spend $60,000, you know, to drop your student-to-teacher ratio 1, essentially, unless you're Birch River, and then it drops it 2.
But again, I
Well-
mean, that's something that, you know,
Right.
Birch River, when you only have 8 and 8, you don't have much choice there.
well, his teachers felt pretty strongly about it.
Well, I know I taught split grade a few years ago, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, they felt very strongly about it. I mean, so if I'm going to present, I'm going to make sure I give an adequate, an accurate picture for everything.
And 60 would be based on first-year teacher
That's the
beginning
average.
salary.
No, that's the average.
That's the average.
Average
That's
is
the average,
15.
and that counts their,
They're always like,
benefits.
what?
that counts all their benefits.
Yeah, that's benefits.
Benefits.
That includes benefits. That includes benefits, so that's not the salary. That's the
60
benefit.
for professional, 40 for service.
I'm not familiar with the scale anymore.
Yeah.
I know what it was when I was
So,
there.
so
It wasn't
that,
near that.
this number includes their salary plus their retirement and
Their insurance.
their insurance and all that. That's what it costs us. That's not what they're paid, that's what it costs us
Right, right.
on average. And that's just kind of a number that we use. So, yeah.
Can you go back to Summersville Elementary for just a second? And you said that they really,
She and I played phone tag today. Chris?
Just touch the one you,
I did, it's not coming up. Just touching that one too.
She broke it.
what did you do, Melissa?
I just touched it.
If it can be broke, she'll do, oh, this is what you did.
I won't be touching it.
Did you get it?
There it is.
Enabling
Underside, is that something you want from?
Somersville, yeah.
So how come,
Well, actually, that ought to be a 2 right
I was
there.
gonna say.
Yeah.
That's a mistake, that ought
that's
to be
what I
a
was
2.
gonna say. And then the other one's just 2 over.
Correct. Correct.
And there's none out of the area for there. I'm just looking to see if,
Well, there's
there's none in second grade putting that 50 up to 52.
There's one out of area. One out of area, so that doesn't help you any. So we do that. Anytime that it looks, if we have to hire somebody, and we've got people from out of district, then we do ask them, to go back to their school, unless putting them there would require us to hire a teacher there. And then we just kind of determine that on a case-by-case basis.
Well,
So-
and there's a lot of reasons why people want their kids at a certain school, and I understand that.
I do.
Whether it's staff or,
And sometimes it's just convenience because of work.
but, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Just a couple of questions here. This does not include the pre-K. And it looks to me like some of the enrollment in some of the schools has really dropped. I'm going to look at Cherry River for just a second. That's 131 students in K through 5. Is that a significant drop, Chris?
100 and, what school
Yeah.
was that?
Cherry River.
Yeah, I was at like 170 last year.
And when looking at Cherry River, what we projected them to have last year was 22 in first grade, 31 in second grade, 26 in third grade, 25 in fourth grade, and 24. That's what we projected, and I'd have to flip it back there to see what it is, but they've even dropped since school started.
Well, some of those parents transferred to Valley River, some of those kids, because we didn't have teachers at Cherry River. So that's why they did that.
Yeah.
And how is the pre-K enrollment going?
I didn't include pre-K in here. Some of them are our rooms, some of them are county, community action rooms. And it's all over the place. It goes back and forth. I think they're probably settled down now. But when we do, and even when we do RIF transfer stuff, we don't even look at kindergarten, because kindergarten enrollment, you don't enroll them until after RIF transfer deadlines. And then most people wait till school starts to enroll them in kindergarten. So unless we, look at numbers and go, okay, based on who's in preschool, we might as well cut this kindergarten position just in case, and then sometimes have to add it back, but we try to avoid that if we can. We've done a pretty good job of estimating our kindergarten numbers.
That 5 special ed under second grade, are any of those self-contained?
No. These are not self-contained.
Summersville, on our count, I think we have 5 total in the school as self-contained.
Yeah.
So not just in one grade, but.
And there's none in that second grade?
We didn't include students in the self-contained room here.
Okay.
I didn't, unless she pulled them in these numbers. When I asked the principals for the numbers, I asked them not to include the self-contained rooms. She did tell me that these were students with special needs whose needs can be met at SES. I'm not sure what that means. But if there's, some service that we provide there that's not at other
Right.
schools. Yeah.
Back on the preschool, however, we are funded from the state on those enrollments.
Yes.
Yes.
And below 3, if they have an IEP, then we'll be partial funding for those. Usually it's like a 0.1 or something.
So when you come back to us with the actual enrollment, you'll have those preschoolers in there, right?
Yes. October 1 is when we're funded by, and usually after that date is when I come back and give you guys a report comparing October 1 this year to October 1 last year. And that'll tell you our approximate. After that, I'll submit it to the state, and then they'll see if the kid's enrolled in another county, and it may fluctuate just a little bit after that, but they'll give us a rough estimate on what we'll be funded on next year, because we're always operating on what we was funded on last year. Last year's October 1 is this year's.
And all elementary schools have pre-K.
No.
How many do not?
See that?
Lake Creek,
What is it?
Lake Creek doesn't.
Lake Road,
They do, but it's not there.
Technically, Glade Creek is at
At
Friends of the
Friends of the
Fun,
Fun.
Right.
but Mountain Evo does not, and Ziegler does not.
So basically two schools that don't?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's gonna, it's the enrollment, like for example, Cherry River's gonna go up from 131 probably because they have preschool there.
Right, right.
If she looked, those are probably counted in the enrollment.
No, I did 0 to 5th
They
grade.
have one.
I did 0 to 5th grade, so that we could get based on these
Right.
teachers. So when I did the student-teacher ratio, I didn't include pre-K teachers in that. So,
Do we get any reimbursement from the state for those kids that are homeschooled that are going to CTE? Do we get a partial?
Yes.
Okay.
If they participate, then we get whatever dollar amount it is.
Percentage, don't they typically go halftime,
3 periods a day.
3 periods a day, so we get like half funding, I think.
Anything else?
Good job.
Well, thank you. Well, like I said, it's kind of tough until after the certified count comes in, but that's best we can hold.
Okay, that takes us to our action items. Hold on just a second. Can we, I think we have, how many delegations do we have?
3.
Can we do delegations before we do action? Just so that we can hear them and,
You just ask for an update.
is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump to delegations. And so each one of these folks will get 5 minutes. And
I think it's
3 minutes?
The policy says 3.
3 minutes, all right. One night they gave me like an hour and I guess they changed that policy.
Well, you can donate your time to other people.
Yeah, you can, if you signed up and you want to donate your time, that's fine. So,
Hey, let's check policy first of all, make sure.
Melissa just walked up. Thank you, Stan.
What's the question?
can they give each other?
They can crank each other.
It's always,
I didn't think it was changed.
no, it should be.
What was it you wanted to check?
Just checking it to see if it was,
3 to 5 minutes.
Oh, excuse me. Did it go to 3 to 5? 3 to 3.
it used to be 5, but I think we changed it to 3.
We're gonna put 50 if you would like.
Looks like praying.
So each speaker gets 3 minutes unless there's more than 10 speakers. And you may yield your time. So we have 3 speakers, Sherry McMillian, Gwen Huffman, Krista Cartwright. Are all 3 of you going to speak, or did you sign up to yield your time?
If my time needs yielded, I will give it up to.
I'm not trying to talk to you anymore.
I'm not, we already
I think I
discussed
can
it.
cover it in 3 minutes.
If you can.
make sure.
I know she's talking pretty fast.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So we'll,
We got six more.
and then,
Somebody else
Krista.
have- How much time?
3 minutes.
Put 6 on there, whatever she doesn't use, I'll use the rest.
Okay,
I probably won't need it, so.
go ahead if you want to step up to it.
I have a couple of handouts. You, if you want to take them, that's fine. Good evening. A little bit of background. My name is Sherry McMillian. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Panther Creek Elementary. This is my 10th year in teaching, 9 of which have been at Panther Creek. I'm here tonight to request an additional teacher to be hired at Panther Creek. We currently have 31 3rd grade students in one classroom, 6 above the state max. We also have 19 students in one 4th grade classroom, 19 in the other. So far, whenever we ask for guidance on this issue, we've just been told to do a split. So today was our first day with a split classroom. I had to move 7 4th graders to my homeroom. We moved 8 3rd graders into a 4th grade classroom with 11 existing 4th graders, and our dedicated 3rd grade teacher has 23. That leaves a couple spaces if we get new kids enrolled. As we all know, having one teacher teach 2 sets of standards simultaneously is not easy or ideal. 3rd grade and 4th grade standards are very different. Not to mention success in 3rd grade is a significant indicator for continued success throughout a student's educational career. It's our duty to ensure that these students have the best education that we can possibly provide. This setup is legal, but far from ideal. The average student-teacher ratio in West Virginia is 14-1, Panther Creek 16-1. If you include all of our planning teachers, our pre-K, all of that. Even with a split for 3rd, 4th, just those 3 teachers, our ratio is 23-1. Why would we not give our students the best chance at learning and the best environment that we can provide? In your handout, I've attached an article that aggregates the findings of several studies about reducing class sizes. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. By and large, smaller is better. Putting more kids in a room with one person doesn't work. They cite leads in educational, social, mental, all of the sides of a student. And we've seen a lot of numbers, so let's talk some more numbers. Based on data collected since the first day of school on August 22nd, 16 of our 31 3rd graders are performing below a 3rd grade level. That colored graph on the front shows you the discrepancy between where they are and where they're supposed to be. That orange line is the 3rd grade level. That black line is a 1st grade level. 6 of the students in that room are currently receiving special education services, and 6 have specific intervention plans through student assistance teams. 23 of the 38 4th graders that we teach are performing below grade level. Last year on the West Virginia General Summative Assessment, that group of students was 4% proficient in English Language Arts. That's 1 student coming to me at Mastery in English Language Arts. 1. 19%, that's 6, were proficient in math. And I kind of had to laugh today whenever we got the newsletter. One of the goals to offset all of the issues from the pandemic is small groups. Well, with my current 27 kids, when small groups are pulled, that includes special ed, intervention, and early education aid coming in to lead a group. I have 17 students left to split between 2 adults. My small groups are as big as some classes in the county. In a nutshell, we've got our work cut out for us. I'm well aware that other schools have similar class sizes and have a flex teacher. It's my wish that none of them have a split grade. However, these same schools also have Title I. We don't. There's no conceivable way to work schedules with an additional supporting adult in a large class. 2 adults is not the same as 2 teachers. I urge you to be proactive. Be proactive to affect the educational outcomes for these students. Be proactive to show that you value us as educators. If you're wondering why there's 16 vacancies, situations like this kind of exasperate current and prospective teachers. Be proactive to lessen the burden of supervising 31 8-year-olds at recess and at a bathroom break.
Also be people of integrity. When the excess levy was last passed, one of the promises was no more split grades. Flex classrooms are split with a new label. I ask that for my own mental health, you not force us to do a split. You may not be aware, but last year we had a split at Panther Creek too. I had 31 fourth graders. Fifth grade had 40. In an effort to maintain our history of excellence, the two fifth grade teachers and I split the 71 kids with a 3-person team. We taught our strongest subjects and saw 71 kids daily. It was far from ideal. I never want to read 71 5-paragraph essays from 4th and 5th graders ever again. I cried almost every day for an entire 9 weeks. Spelling tests, grading those was hard enough, not to mention the essays. Our students made gains, but Panther Creek dropped 92 spots on overall school ratings. I gave them my best and it still wasn't enough. Panther Creek is a 2-time National Blue Ribbon Award winning school, and it feels like we're being punished for being high performing. The message isn't keep up the good work, it's okay, do more with less. Today, we tried teaching all the subjects with our split grades. We were given about a week to prepare. I went from teaching English language arts to English language arts, math, and social studies, all within a week. We had to start new routines, teach expectations, and basically the first 2 weeks of school have been wasted. Now, I don't want to come to you with no solution. If you can't find it in your budget to fund a whole teacher, fund us a half-time teacher. If our mission is to prepare students for success in life, then take action. Give us a fighting chance and hire another 3rd grade teacher.
Sorry, your time.
That's fine.
Need 1 minute.
Okay,
But she pretty much covered a lot,
Okay,
just
so-
in more detail.
so she used Krista's minutes?
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Gwen.
I don't need all of it. 'Cause I know-
You go ahead and time her for 3, and that way she,
She already touched on the difference in 3rd and 4th grade.
I'm sorry, give your name and your
Oh, I'm
address.
sorry. Gwen Huffman, Panther Creek Elementary. I have a student there. I'm here to speak on needing another teacher. Thank you. Anyways, she spoke on the difference in the curriculum in 3rd and 4th grade and splitting that up. Also, I was in the same situation last year with my 4th grade teacher. She was one of the 31 students. Now she's in 5th grade, but now my son in 3rd grade is going to go into a split class, and the class behind him in 2nd grade has almost 30 kids, so they'll be in the same situation next year. So will he have to have another split class again next year? So with last year, this year, and next year, I think it shows the need for another teacher, and why are we failing it and punishing our kids and our teachers. Also, when you run the risk of burning out teachers, become overwhelming, causing them to miss critical things that would be caught in a reasonable size classroom. Example, last year my son was in a smaller classroom, and it was picked up on that his comprehension skills were a little lacking. If it had been in a bigger classroom, we might not have picked up on that. We'd be struggling again this year. So smaller size, more advantage for our kids. Bigger classes, more advantage for a budget. That's it. Do you want to?
I just want to say, my son came home today and told us it was a mess.
Okay, we can't let, I'm sorry, can't let you.
That's fine.
Sorry. Okay. That was all of our delegations. So let's go back to action items. And our first action item is approval of the MOU with New River Hill. Ms. Atkins.
So that information is, has been loaded into your packets. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
It says we will provide appropriate space, utilities, and janitorial support as a condition of this. Will that be affected by the construction
They have portable.
at the Cherry River?
Cherry River's not New River. Cherry River's not New River.
That's New River
No,
Health.
no, but,
New River Health.
so it won't affect any of the schools that New River.
Camden is
Camden's at
Cherry
Cherry River,
Yeah.
not, New River Health is not at Cherry River. It's-
Yeah, right. It won't affect any of the schools that New River supplies. We will be able to provide appropriate space, utilities, and janitorial support at all the schools that they supply.
Yeah, the only schools that they support right now is Summersville Middle School and Nicholas County High School. So there's no changes.
Okay.
This is an annual agreement,
Yes,
Correct.
this is just an annual.
and they're located in a trailer that sits, in a,
Yes, they're not in the
Alright.
facility, there wasn't enough space.
Yeah.
So even before I came here, they've got a trailer outside that they operate out of.
Yeah, they've been in that for,
Yeah, they don't operate inside the
30 or
school,
40
they have
years.
their own separate space. The space we're providing them is outside the school.
Has there been any thought, has there been any discussion at all about using the same provider for every school? Not that I have anything against any of them, I just,
Before I came, it was established. Honestly, I think it should be a bidding process. I don't think it's even fair the way it is right now. Before I came, you have preferences, you have principals who prefer specific providers, but there's something, and I don't know what it's called, I can't remember, but there's some type of certificate that has to be secured by the facility to operate in a certain location. And I know that New River operated for Richwood Middle School for years, and then Camden Clinic got the certificate for Cherry River Elementary. Well, when the flood occurred and Richwood Middle School was moved on Cherry River campus, they were no longer allowed to operate on that campus because Cherry River, Camden got the certificate for that. So, so the way it's always been operated is, prior to me coming, is people just saying, asking for the areas and providing the certificate. And it's like a 30-day out clause for every situation. I don't have any complaints so far with how each of the people are operating the facilities. It's something that, I really think the board should consider putting it out for bid. But at this point, it's been operated on, it's just people have certain areas.
Actually, with that certificate of need, I'm not even sure that you could put it out.
May not be able to, but I know the 30-day, like I said, there's a 30-day out clause for us. But if there's ever a change, that's one thing that I have looked into, is to ask the board to consider putting it out for bid.
There's also a school nurse at each school, is that correct?
No,
No?
no, we only have 2 nurses in the county. We only have 2 school nurses.
didn't they say they had a PA, maybe part-time?
Well, now
New
Camden
River.
and New River, they have people on site.
Yeah.
But the rest of our schools, we only have 2 nurses for the county. It's not required to have a nurse at the high school level. So we have, with our population size, we're required to have 2.
Do they rotate or work out of one
They go to
place?
different schools, they travel to different schools, they have a schedule, and they go to different schools.
Gus, do you remember how they started that? It seemed like one time that got pretty hot, the tension between the two. providers there.
Well, it's like, what I recall is what Dr. Tetrick said, that there was a certificate of need which was, fell in the hands of Camden and Garley, to cover the Richwood Cherry River School. And I think they would like to maybe encroach upon each other, so, but I think they pretty much stayed separate, in my recollection.
I haven't really had any issues lately. I think that there was maybe some discussions previously about, you know, people being located in different areas and those certificates of needs or whatever it was. It's something that's, you know, provided by other people. And I don't know what it takes to break that. I have no idea.
Can.
So if, you know, if something happens that we don't like how a school or how a facility is operating, either one of the providers, you know, we can cancel it. We can say 30-day out. I'm sorry, but we don't no longer need your services.
But you couldn't give it to the other one.
I don't know 100% sure. I mean,
And I don't either. I know a little bit about certificate of need from my lobby days, which was a long time ago, and I haven't looked at the legislation. I do know that that's a certificate that's issued by some regulatory body somewhere. And it's, you know, it's pretty competitive, and I know every year there's legislation to modify that or get rid of it or whatever. It's kind of complicated, and I don't know the ins or outs, but my initial reaction would be it might be difficult to do that, but I wouldn't know unless I looked at the legislation.
I like having the providers at schools. It's really nice because if a teacher's sick, they can go to the provider and they don't have to miss school, or we have students. So I really like having the providers, and my goal is to have a provider at every single school if we can. But of course, it gets expensive to put those portable units, you know, in houses or whatever at different facilities. I mean, it's a great benefit to our students and our staff.
Mr. Moose, isn't that federally regulated by Camden and Garley and New River Health? That's federal, so they're the ones who would establish the zones or regions in which they could serve.
That's right.
I would think. So
Yeah, I think
I think the certificate of need is a state thing, because not all states have certificates of needs. I believe the certificate of need is a thing that's issued by the state of West Virginia.
I
I
think we
think
get
there's a
into
national thing that's
a lawsuit if we
And
try
they're
to change that.
I don't, I'm sorry.
No, I just think that would, unless they voluntarily did it.
I don't see a 30-day out. Am I overlooking it on here?
That's what it's always been. Do you have that on there now?
I don't see it. Maybe I'm
If there is,
overlooking.
we need to have that because that's always been a big deal.
If you want that, that'll probably have to be added.
That's what it's been for, ever since I've been here.
Yeah, most of them do say that.
Well, it's not in there. It's not in there.
Well, I'd hate to do something to lose the service. I think we need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 30-day out's important to have in there, on both sides.
So do we want to table that?
Yes, please, because the 30-day out is, I think, pretty important.
I have a question. What is the, I mean, they've been there for several years, haven't they?
Yes.
At Nicholas County High School one. It seems like there's a pretty good relationship there.
Yes.
That has existed, and their services have been phenomenal, not only to the schools, but to the community. Correct?
That's my understanding.
Well, we probably need to table it for that 30-day clause.
Yeah, most of them say, or in agreement, or if both parties agree.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And most of them are employees that are citizens of the community anyway.
Correct.
So we will table action item A. Okay, action item B, approval of the countywide progressive farm safety day for all third grade students. That Mr. Sparks is what he talked about.
Mr. President, can we change that date to September 21st instead of the 22nd?
I think that's what you gave us, Brian.
It probably is on my end.
That's what I wrote down.
September 21st.
So, Mr. Stump, you caught that the 21st? Did you, okay. Any discussion on approval of the countywide farm safety day? Okay. Approval of the 2022-23 retroactive contract bus driver Tracy Hanks and Susie Odell effective August 22nd, 2022.
Yeah, these are also things that we do yearly. We have some students who, you know, do not live near a bus, and it's really too far for them to walk, so we pay people to transport them to another bus.
So I know where Susie Odell runs. Where's the Tracy Hanks? Where's that at?
That is, I'm gonna mess this up. I'm still learning my route, so I apologize.
That's all right.
I know it's 129 down past where is it? Meadow Creek, near the fire station.
Yeah, it's out the fire station, out Whitewater, little
Ford
ways.
splits.
Yeah, it's out Whitewater.
Yeah, you can't take a bus down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think they transport several that way.
Okay. And of course, that's one of the things you went ahead and approved. We're just backing up. Okay. Action item D, discussion and possible action on employment of additional teachers for split and flex classrooms. And I'm probably going to get in trouble. This is the first motion I've made, but I make a motion that we employ an additional third grade teacher at Panther Creek Elementary.
May I make a procedural suggestion?
Yes.
Why don't you pull that one out separately and then offer that motion so that you can vote on the others, because I'm afraid that's going to get lost in the, just from a procedural standpoint, I think it would be cleaner that way.
Okay. So I withdraw that. So we'll take up action item D separately. Action item E, approval of MOU with Seneca Health Services, Cynthia Cunningham, Youth Crisis Specialist.
So we have her listed for an action item, and I was going to explain. I signed on with a grant from Seneca Mental Health Services, and in that grant, I had asked for someone to additional supports for our schools, and they got the grant, and of course they sent us Cynthia. We're very pleased with her, and I was going to ask her to speak concerning her, briefly concerning her role. And I was going to have her just do that under my superintendent's updates. But since we have this, is it okay for her to take a couple minutes and speak at this point on the position? Or would you rather her wait until
I'm fine.
So Cynthia, if you can come up and just talk to them a little bit about your position.
Here is a general idea of my position. My name is Cynthia Cunningham. I am the new Youth Crisis Specialist for Nicholas County. Basically, it's 14 schools, but it's technically 15 because I went over to the Learning Center several times already. My basic role is for crisis. If any crisis that come up, they'll call me. I've already been called in for 4 crises already since school started. I go in, I assess the scenario, see if they are at risk, and if they are, I can contact Seneca and get different places. If they needed to go to a facility, I can contact the facility. We also have care navigators that will contact different facilities and get them in if they're in that type of crisis. If it is just a general crisis, I track them for 40 days. I will contact their parents. If they need any other assistance, we have case managers that will track them as well. I also do trainings in the school. I've already set up with Nicholas County High School several trainings on bullying from their 9th up to their 10th. I also can train teachers, and I have, I think, 7 or 8 different trainings that I can provide, anything from, I'm really nervous. Anything from bullying down to, say if the 5th graders are going into the middle school, I can go in and do a transitioning training for them. There's different trainings, and if you need a training, I can also make it. And I have it run it by the board, and they okay it, and I can go in and do them trainings for you.
So she's done an excellent job, and one of the things that we're doing, she has developed several different programs, and I actually have her answering directly to Rachel Hendricks, our psychologist. And of course, there's a review of the work. We're asking her to present on the portions of Aaron's Law that's required. One of the great things is we thought it was most important to schedule her to be in our secondary schools 5 days a week, so she can go to each one of those facilities 1 day each week. In the event of a crisis at an elementary school, then she leaves that facility and goes. One of the other things that's really been helpful, and I think will be really helpful for us, is she's going to coordinate the crisis and risk assessment screenings for students. So if we have a threat from a student, she will coordinate the services to do the screening. And then if it goes on to needing a full-blown crisis review, then she will assist our psychologist in doing that crisis assessment. And she has the ability to do many things, but again, this is a resource from a grant. It's not costing the school system anything, but it'll be of great benefit to us. And she's worked real well with Mike Williams so far, and of course with they're doing trauma-informed training. A lot of good stuff's going to happen out of this.
So Mike was the one taking care of most of that stuff, what you just mentioned before this.
Yes, and he will still continue doing that, but she's going to just be extra hands to give us the support, and it's going to help Mike out a little bit. Yes.
It says the youth crisis specialist will not just assist with youth that is in crisis, but provide training. So you do all that.
Sir?
Okay.
Or the schedule, that's exactly what it is. So she'll go 1 day a week to each school, so she'll be present, and she'll be available to do trainings on bullying, eating disorders, just a whole array of things. And then as we work through this process, there may be other things that we realize that she needs to develop training for. And of course, she'll do that in conjunction with our psychologist.
So she will be working, as you said, every day, or you'll be in all of our schools each week, and so you're touching base with the counselors about things that are going on.
Well, I hate to say this, but is this a free service?
Well,
Yes, it is free.
doesn't
This was
cost
a
us.
grant. This was a grant that we did a letter of support for, and when they got the grant, what I had asked for was a body in our schools to help us, and they did that.
I don't see Cynthia,
Yes, sir?
I don't see her name on this MOU anywhere.
It wouldn't be with her. She's a crisis intervention specialist, so if next week she decides to take another job and we have a different person, what we're doing is doing a contract for a crisis intervention specialist, not with Cynthia.
But we're doing it with Seneca.
We're doing it with Seneca,
It's
right,
up towards
for
the
crisis
top.
intervention, yes.
It's the 5th one.
Yeah, I was looking at
Cynthia, we appreciate your help. We're glad you're here.
I'm here to help.
it. Hey, are you on call? We may need you sometime.
And she's willing to adjust her schedule, and so she was willing to come speak to the board. So anyway, she's pretty motivated. Glad to have her.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to action item F, ratify the MOU with the West Virginia Board of Governors.
Yeah, this is also in your board packet. You know, from time to time, we've had different schools asked to place student nurses in so that they call it precept with our nurses. It's been real beneficial to us. We've actually had someone who precepted with us as a nurse who fell in love with it and has decided to become a teacher. So she left nursing and she's working on taking her praxis exams. In fact, she got on the agenda tonight for hire as an aide. But this will just allow, it costs us $0. Then anytime that WVU has nursing students that wish to precept with school nurses, then they can place them in our school system.
It's almost like student teaching.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
That's out of Beckley campus, is that right?
Two campuses.
Two campuses, WVU Board of Governors, so, and actually, I guess that would be Tech and WVU of Morgantown and any other,
Okay.
if they all have, or nurse, because I think there's WVU Parkersburg, I don't know where they have nursing programs, but.
Two schools.
Okay,
It
action,
just lists two schools.
Pardon me?
It lists two schools, just two schools. But I know WVU's over many different programs.
Well, and it
but
could
does
be that
mean-
they have, you know, like WVU Parkersburg, they probably have MOUs with Wood County, because why would you,
Right.
you know, drive them here? So that would be my guess.
Okay.
okay, action item G, approval of the MOU with Somersville City Police Department to provide officers at Nicholas County High School and Summersville Middle School.
Yes, this is also in your packet. Let me get it to pull up my, it's not wanting to load. Teams is not. There we go. So we've had PRO officers at all of our schools for forever. Anyway, we have not had an MOU that anyone could find. We couldn't find an MOU here in this office. The city of Summersville couldn't find an MOU that we'd ever executed with them, and neither could the sheriff's department. So this is an MOU that we felt like we needed. We did work with the city of Summersville on that. We had a meeting with the mayor and the chief of police and went over this, and so this is mutually agreeable. And this is just to provide the services to Nicholas County High School and Summersville Middle School. We also are in the process of working on an MOU with the sheriff's department as well. So when we have that prepared, we'll bring that one to you as well. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Well, it looked good to me. Does it look good to the superintendent? I know you've been working on that. Okay.
Okay, action item H, approval of crisis plan, MOUs.
Yes.
Do we need to,
Well, I think, I mean, if you have specific questions, I would recommend an executive session, but these are just two schools added additional locations.
Right.
Actually, two schools added 3 additional locations between them, so that's what that represents there.
and just for you people in the audience, the reason we don't disclose those is because we don't want the general public knowing where our students are going to go in case of an emergency. Correct?
Correct. And that was a recommendation of law enforcement.
All right. Approval to update to policy 2271, dual credit.
Yes, this is also in your packet, and we added, if you look at it, the changes are in green. So we added Glenville and West Virginia University, WVU Tech, so that students can get credit for those. So therefore, we are asking that you approve that effective immediately.
Okay, action item J, approval the update to policy 0165.1, regular meetings.
Yes, that's also in your packet. Let me get it up here too, so that I have it in front of me. This change represents a change that is in state code and accountability. So we added an agenda item that's required that we discuss. I can't, there it is, okay. Let me pull it up. Probably be easier if I talk about it if I had it in front of me. So if you scroll down to page 2 under agenda items under E, it says to at least once monthly, this section of the agenda shall include a discussion to address school performance, student outcomes, and/or academics with board goals and actions to improve student achievements. These are the very things that the Office of Accountability and Support is going to be looking for. So I just felt that it's probably best that we just go ahead and put that in our policy, and because this is a technical change, I don't really see the need to put it on comment either, and would ask for its adoption effective immediately.
No, that's something we learned at, Mr. Penix and I learned at the President's Conference.
Yes.
Which one is that?
J.
I'm still lost. I mean, on here, which number?
I read that.
Yeah.
0165.1 regular meetings.
Okay, wait a minute. Just give me a second.
Going to be at the first meeting of the month or the second meeting of the month?
I would recommend that you do it this next month because you're required to do that once a month, and I would recommend that you have that on the agenda for the next regular meeting.
I'd like to see on discussion items, I don't know if it would go into the entire policy, but I'd like to get a report each time from the architects and engineers.
That's just a sample. I know what you're looking at.
Discussion items and presentations.
Yeah, but this is only so that we talk about educational progress.
It's according, we're meeting the state accountability policy, the State Board of Education policy.
That's the only thing they added.
That's the only thing that's added.
That wouldn't preclude you from having that on the agenda every time. I mean,
Right. Okay.
you could discuss that any time that you saw fit.
All right, thank you.
And the reason for that is, as a part of the accountability from the state, is they come in electronically and monitor all agendas for specific months. You don't know what months those are, to make sure you have that on the agenda. And then they also look to see if there has been discussion or anything relative to student achievement or academic progress. So,
And that's just what we just did
Yeah.
with all the schools, so
that's good.
That's true.
Okay, action item K, approval of the technical corrections to the following policies. 0142-.3 orientation and training, 2114 meeting state accountability measures, 2600 educational program.
Yes, these are also in your board packet. If you have specific questions about them, I'll be happy to answer them. These are technical questions like corrections, like a change in the code site or with a year or that, very, very minor. So I would recommend their adoption immediately as well.
Action item L, approval to place the following policy updates on 20-day comment. 3362/4362, anti-harassment and violence. 1617, weapons. 2120, district and school improvement. 2230, program of study, early and elementary learning programs, pre-K through 5. 2230.01, program of study, middle school education. 2230.02, program of study, high school program, grades 9 to 12. 2261.03, district and school report card. 2370.04, learning pods and micro schools. 2411, guidance and counseling. 2430.02, participation in extracurricular activities. 2520, selection of instructional materials and equipment. And 2522, instructional materials inspection and right to file complaint.
Yes, so as you know, we contract with Neola, and these are all changes that they recommended, and they are pretty substantial changes. Some of them are new policies. For example, 2522 is a new policy. For us, 3362 and 4362, those are new policies. Kind of had some technical issues with Neola and getting those in the original, policy update. So that's represented there. There's actually two. There's one for service employees and one for professional employees, but instead of giving you 2 copies because they're identical, I combine them as one. So that's actually 3362 and 4362 are 2 policies, but they say the same thing. And that's just the way Neola does it. They duplicate a lot of things, so.
There's one correction there. It says that we will report to the Ohio Department of Education.
Where's that at?
Let me find it here.
That would be in Neola.
That would be their typo.
That would be their typo.
Under allegations involving conduct unbecoming the teaching profession,
Okay.
suspension, the
All right.
superintendent will report to the Ohio Department of Education.
I
Would
will.
you point that out to them?
Yeah, I will. Well, and actually, because when we were working on this, they didn't match, and the service was different than the professional, and I couldn't get anybody to explain to me why they'd be different. I finally got somebody to sit down and look at it and go, oh, you're right. So so that's just been kind of an ongoing problem with that one. And if I get your permission, I'll make those technical corrections to
Yes.
it before we put it out on
That's a
comment.
good catch, Mr. Moose.
Yes, excellent.
Oh, I love reading this stuff.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Action item N, discussion and approval of the superintendent's goals.
So the goals, I felt like we had a really productive meeting, work session the other day. So I'll just briefly go over the goals. 1, planning for the construction of schools. A, manage the construction process to ensure adequate progress by working with architects, construction managers, West Virginia School Building Authority, Department of Homeland Security, West Virginia State School Board, West Virginia State Department of Ed, FEMA, while maintaining the mediated agreement established between the West Virginia State Board of Education and the Nicholas County Board of Education through work with the Consensus Building Institute. That's a mouthful there. That's a lot of work in that one. B is to work with the architect and construction manager, seeing that the timelines are progressing as well as possible, realizing that many things are out of control of superintendent. C, report progress to the board on a regular basis, maintain student safety during construction process through planning measured by receiving no incident reports. And on each agenda, it does have a construction planning update, and so when we have updates, I report them. So I think things will start to move here pretty soon, pretty quickly. Number 2, improve student achievement generally across the county through A, professional development will be provided to teachers by TIS instructors by individual request. 1, monitor of professional development delivery will provide for accountability. 2, protect the instructional day by eliminating daily group professional development sessions as well as group leadership team meetings or any meeting that requires groups of teachers to be absent on a regular basis. I think that's also a really important one, and I will be communicating these goals to my principals so that those are carried throughout the schools. and of course here at the central office in scheduling PD. 3, surveys will be provided to teachers for their assessment of professional development effectiveness. B, monitor progress of students who are in virtual and distance learning. 1, teachers will contact students to offer instructional support. 2, social and emotional assessments will be presented to students to complete, intended to address student need. 3, social workers report to the board on a regular basis to discuss how social and emotional needs are being met. And when I say a regular basis, that's really going to come down to the amount of time reports that this board would like to hear. C, maintain student performance outcomes in academics, attendance, and graduation rates. 1, present plan of action to address areas of low performance. 2, present analysis of data to the board regularly. D, continue monitoring the filling of all unfilled personnel vacancies. E, maintain expulsion rates lower than 5%. 3, stakeholder involvement. Recognize stakeholders monthly at regularly scheduled board meetings. 1, student awards. 2, teachers working above and beyond normal hours. 3, community partnerships recognized. And 4, I have a personal goal to be in each school at least once a semester. And that's the goals that I believe, I captured from our work session.
Our 4-hour work session.
Yes.
Mr. Corbin didn't stick around. All right. All right, here we go. I need a motion to accept action items A, B.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, A, you table.
Sorry. I need a motion to approve action items B, C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and N.
So moved, Mr. President.
So Dr. Penix makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moose. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now, action item A is going to be tabled. And action item D, discussion and possible action on employment of additional teachers for split and flex classrooms. Mr. Hess,
Yes, sir.
if we hire another teacher, does that put us in the red?
Based upon historically, we probably would not. We have not completed the financial statements for this year yet, which should be done at the end of September. And then I can tell you for sure. But historically, we've had sufficient carryover to cover another teacher.
Well, and maybe, I know people are going to say, well, I've been in this situation, and I'm going to make a motion, and maybe I won't get a second, but I'm going to make a motion that we hire another teacher at Panther Creek Elementary for 3rd grade.
You have a second.
Mr. President, and Mr. Ruth's second, I was going to second it. And I think we have a rationale for this. I looked back through those numbers, and Panther Creek has the highest pupil-teacher ratio in grades 3, 4, 5 than any other school in the county, and that's grades 3, 4, 5. And critically, that's where the testing starts at 3, 4, and 5. Than any other school, and they do not have a Title I teacher. So I think we have a good rationale for that school.
Because if you do it, you need to have a reason.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, everybody else will.
I'll fill one.
I know, and I was warned of that.
But they've been stating this is a problem for several years. At the LSIC meeting 2 years ago, this was a problem. So we're going on to 3 years, same problem. And I think that's long enough.
Well, any other discussion? So the motion was, I made the motion, seconded by Mr. Moose.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Okay. That brings us to consent items. A, finance.
Oh, did you get it?
Okay, first item under finance agenda is payment for invoices. We're just getting started.
This always happens, Kevin.
I don't know, Kevin, something personal.
Thank you, guys.
I didn't want to leave when everybody else.
Just sneak up.
We all know Kevin's superpower. Clear in the room.
Okay, so payment of current invoices is the first item on finance agenda. You have any questions?
Wait a minute, mine keeps fading out. Okay, I think it's going to stay. No. Okay.
Let's see, is the auction, is that where the auction proceeds? Tell us about those auction proceeds, just briefly. Do they go to the school where the items came from, or how's that work?
Typically, when we have an auction once a year, and we collect items from all over the county, and we have it at Somersville Bus Garage, and most of the time, we have buses to sell, and they are the 90% of the proceeds are the bus sales. And so we will put that money back in the general fund and use it for general fund purposes. In the past, some schools have wanted to have their own auction for miscellaneous items, and we told the schools, hey, whatever proceeds, it might be just little things around their school, you can keep it at the school level. In this case, this year we did not have any buses to sell in the auction, and 99% of the things that were sold at this year's auction was from the Career Center.
Okay.
And so they incur a huge expense every year sending kids to competition, and Tom and I discussed it, and we agreed to put those proceeds back in. They're here, earmarked for the vocational center for future travel to competitions, whatever needs they may need.
So I don't have a problem with it personally, but is that something the board should approve, or?
Well, you are going to approve it. It's in our transfers and supplements today.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed it there.
Yeah.
I saw it. Okay.
It's they have a vocational line.
$19,000 some dollars?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
I
But
did
their
see it.
money's mostly bought from CTE money also, so it's not even purchased from county funds, it's from state funds.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. I was just,
Yeah.
I wondered.
But that's
how
a
you
good
base it.
reason to separate those two, though.
Sure.
Kevin, are you indicating that some of the schools do their own auctions?
I mean, like 3 in the last 20 years, and it's only for, like they want to have a carnival or a celebration at their school, and so they might auction off something kids have made, or it's not anything, it's not equipment or anything that the board owns. It's usually something that was made at the school.
I'm just concerned that it meets the state's requirement for auctioning off any equipment.
Oh,
Right,
no.
right. No.
And generally, when they do that at the school, the auctioneer, whoever it is, doesn't charge the school.
Right.
It's like a donation.
Kevin, what is a virtual coaching license? $43,750.
That is, Dr. Teacher might go explain this a little bit better, but it's the software used for virtual classrooms, used for.
Oh, okay.
That's the proximity learning,
okay,
you know where
okay.
Jason spoke?
Okay.
And it covers Richwood High School, Nicholas County High School, and Learning Center.
It's like for 50 licenses?
Yes, it's
That
for
was
50, it's $600 or
Okay.
$800 a
I got
student.
it.
And then, check number 3386 to Apple. Almost $4,600, and it said for 2 MacBooks.
That's probably accurate.
Yes, it is. The Learning Center had a grant. They purchased 2 MacBooks with it.
They cost that much?
Welcome to Apple.
46, 2,300 apiece.
Yeah, they're 2,200 apiece.
Are those MacBooks?
That's 2 computers. Yes, MacBook Pros.
So that's the highest level, it's
Yeah.
not a, it's not a.
It's not an iPad, it's a computer. That's a laptop computer, the best, that's their best model.
And did you say they had a grant for it?
Yes.
Okay,
A lot of those.
that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I buy MacBook Airs for teachers. I don't.
Yeah, I know.
That,
We try to get grants for everything we can.
Oh, yeah.
Jacqueline Construction, and it's for a pavilion. Is that the one at the high school?
Yes,
up
sir.
here? That looked nice. I didn't get a chance to look at it real good. That's part of that grant that we got.
Yes.
Federal funding, yeah. Outdoor classroom.
And that's the first one.
Where's that located?
It's right behind it. Behind the gym, on this side, parking lot side.
The other schools have them too, right?
We are putting in 8 or
Yeah.
9 outdoor classrooms for the elementary schools. Yep, yes. They're not quite that extravagant. They are concrete pad with a shelter over top.
That was a little larger.
Well, it's a bigger school.
Yeah. We got, yeah.
The thing is, maybe Mr. Hanshaw checked on this, but are those being put close enough for Wi-Fi?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all of them's right outside the schools.
Yeah, it's right beside the building.
Yeah.
Under,
That one is placed right outside the auxiliary gym, and there's great coverage in there.
We should have built those at the football stadium.
under travel, Kevin, some people are going to the same place and they're $250 while others are $65 and $600 and $500 and $40 and $90. What's the big? I mean, if they're all going to the same place, how come?
It depends on where they started.
That's such a, well, they must have started a long ways away.
Some of those, yeah, it does depend on where they started, and this may not be all to the same training. It could be a variety of different locations.
If they stay in a hotel, they have to put that on their own credit card.
True.
Yeah.
Which would be on that.
And so sometimes when you look at that, Mr. Moose, you look at it and you think it's all mileage, and it's not.
Oh, no, I know it's not mine.
It's not, sometimes it's the room,
To
but it
Morgantown.
might be for 3 days or 5 days, it depends.
Meal allowance and then travel on top of
Right.
that, mileage on top of that. So they usually do fluctuate quite a bit. Sometimes they're just day travel down to Charleston and back, or even Beckley and back. So it varies across the state depending on where the training's being held.
Well, would the summer academy not all be held at the same place?
I really don't know.
I'm sure you check all that stuff, don't you?
There's a travel request form
Hmm.
for each one of those.
It depends on their supervisor has to sign off on it. So when those travel requests come in, their supervisor signs off on it. Then after the supervisor signs off on it, then it comes to us, because they're the ones, they're there, they know what they're actually doing.
It just seemed like there was such a big difference.
It could be the number of days, and it depends on the summer academy. Some are multiple days, some is just 1 day.
Some people room together,
Yep.
and that makes a massive difference in the amount. So sometimes if they're sharing a room, then it's
That's
it'll be
true.
a fraction of the cost as the people who have to stay by themselves.
I was just curious, of course, I couldn't understand. I saw all those different prices, and I couldn't.
One more question now. RT Rogers oil, that is diesel, that's not heating.
That's right, correct, that's diesel fuel.
We don't have any diesel heating or oil heating.
No.
And so they deliver that to Panther Creek, right?
Panther Creek and up here at Somersville Bus Garage.
And Votech,
And Votech.
or the Christian.
Yeah, 3 locations. And that would have been for the month of probably July. Probably. So, you know, it was, our fuel bills had been about $60,000. That's about a normal one before the prices increased, $30,000 to $40,000 a month, but it was a little slower during the summer. Any other questions on paying the current invoices?
That $100,000 we paid CMN, was that for the new designs and new work, or?
No, I'd have to look exactly. That is most likely just I think where we're at, that's probably the July billings for the construction at both locations, any billings that we may have. Now, they do bill me separately for any redesign work, and we pay it out of different funds. But when we pay the check, write the check in volume bound, so the check could include multiple payments for a variety of different things.
One says Cherry River, but it doesn't give a date, and then
Yeah.
the other says Glade Creek, but it doesn't give a date.
Yeah, that, let me think here, we just,
Because they're all working on
September,
both.
yeah, that's probably July, I would say.
So when
I'd
they
have to go back and look for sure. It's either July or August.
So when they had to redo the plans, is that FEMA reimbursed?
No,
That comes out of our pocket.
any rework will be out of county funds.
So we don't want to do that, we don't want to do it very often.
No. So yeah, well, that's part of their billing that I'm keeping separate. Any of the rework has to be billed separately and paid for out of different funds.
H&M, got one here for 1.5, another one over here for 362.
Right. That 1.5 to B&H is for July, and then we have the one for August is the 300. Much smaller. I saw that today, I thought, man, that's a lot less than it has been.
And you don't pay those until they go through the system and come back down through the system.
That's correct. We received the 1.5 last Wednesday, so I'll email, or I'll wire that one to them tomorrow. But 364, we just sent it up and just got it back. Well, it went up and went on, and so I went ahead and got the check ready. They're processing them very quickly now. So I want to have the check ready. I'll hold that check until we actually get the money, and then I'll release it. Any other questions on payment of current invoices? Okay, transfers and supplements, we have a few to go through. First one is Kids Run Club mini grant, $750, and that was for Summersville, Collie River, and Cherry River, $250 apiece. Here's the $19,000 proceeds from the auction, and we budgeted that to the Career Tech's line. And so that's into supplies. They will end up using that probably for their travel expenses. Next one is the CTE grant, and so we have already
trying to rotate them.
Oh, okay.
Roy found out how to do that. He's a valuable fellow.
The next one is for Perkins Grant. We've already budgeted that in the spring, and so we just true that up with the actual grant when it's awarded. And there was a decrease of $1,380 from our original estimate. So that's just a truing up supplement. Next one is CTE equipment replacement grant, $7,575. Next one is CTE secondary block grant, $82,211. Followed by a CTE academics math and English teaching positions, $142,000. Next one is $7,678. That is for supplemental ESSERF grant for funds paid to the private school. Next one is 21st Century Grant, $220,000. And I don't recall which school is going to be the target for that grant this year. It doesn't say. $220,000. CT Program Modernization Grant, $15,000. Next one followed by $71,334,000 for state special ed. Again, we budgeted that in the spring, and that was just to true up the grant. Next one is $22,690, and that's a special ed grant for out-of-state placement, followed by the federal special ed grant, and this is again just to true up the budget in the spring. It's several pages long. And the total adjustments on that was $222,409. And then there is a IDA preschool, $39,216, and special ed, of course. So those are your transfers or supplements. If you have any questions. Next item, we have two contracts. First one is Aptitude, and that's for our website and our calling system. And this is a renewal. I put a copy of the West Virginia addendum grant that we include on all of our contracts. That was the agreement from last year. It does give us the ability to renew. So it's a total of $16,300. It's for our website and our calling system. And I'd like to renew that for this coming school year. And then the second one is VisPen, and that is for remote entry for the schools. Schools?
Sir Panther Creek, Old Main Gym, and Richwood.
Yeah. I didn't think it was all schools, just those three.
And Richwood, yeah.
There's four altogether.
Yeah, there's two on Old Main Gym, one on Panther Creek, and one to get into, one to get into the field house.
Yeah.
At Richwood, at the stadium.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're saying these are for different schools?
Four different locations. One's for the Richwood Fieldhouse, one's for Panther Creek, one's for Old Main.
Okay, gotcha.
Who decides who has access to Ridgewood?
The principal.
Principal?
Totally up to him.
So the gym's this facility, just like the stadium at Mixed County's.
Yeah, they're in school.
Okay.
You can give and take away, and that's sort of like the new stuff that I was supposed to have a demo for all of our exterior doors Friday, but they canceled on me Friday, so I'm waiting on to get a demo to all the exterior doors. But that's kind of the thing, you walk up with your cell phone, hit a button, and you get in. And the principal can say, you have access, if you're a coach and your practice is from 3 to 5, and your phone only lets you in from 3 to 5 this many days a week, you can schedule whoever you want. And it was nice when we had COVID and we couldn't allow people in our facilities, the principal just walked in there and said, no access. You didn't have to rekey, you didn't have to do anything. The reason we started going to that was Old Main Gym, it's $500 to rekey every time, and keys, you can't keep keys away from people. And so when you have that, then you take the key away, and that's the only key out there.
Can you tell who's been in the building?
Yes.
And that's not Bluetooth, it's
It is Bluetooth.
also the phone has to,
So the way it works is your app works, we don't have internet access to those locations, obviously, but the app on their phone, location and timestamps when they entry, and of course, their key is their phone. So in order for somebody to lend you a key, you'd have to give you your cell phone and say, here, you can have my phone for the day, you can play ball. But.
And it'd have to be during the time that you were assigned to get in there.
Yes.
And you can change about any time you want. And say,
The principal can do that.
The principal just logs onto a website and says, hey, you can have this right now, and right now you get in, or if something bad happens, as soon as you walk out the door, they check a box, you can't get in.
So like on a practice time, if you were supposed to practice Tuesday and Thursday, you would be assigned that time and you couldn't get any other time.
If that's the way they work it, they absolutely can, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're making it that strict, if they've got some that practice and they know can benefit them, they
Well,
may have it open,
But sometimes it would be the opposite. You'd have,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
so we'd like to ask the board to approve that. It's under our bid threshold, but it is a 3-year price and a contract, so I want to bring that to the board. Bids. First bid is with TSS Photography, and we'd like to ask the board to approve them to provide photography services for Summersville Middle School. Next one is for Mount Lookout. They would like to use Cardinal Photography. And then finally, Birch River would like to use Life Touch.
once again, is that basically up to
Principals.
the principals?
It's up to the principal, and we've taken some thought about doing a countywide bid, and not completely ruled that out. It'd be a huge bid package, because I envision each school wanting a different package.
Right.
Not undoable, and so we might look at doing that next year.
I just hope they're looking at our local people.
Right.
And trying to give our local people the
Yeah,
business.
that was the thing, I wouldn't want to cut out our local people.
I think it's
because
more of a fundraiser.
Large package.
It is a fundraiser for the school.
It is a
We have
fundraiser.
local photographers that, and that's one of the things that we started a long time ago. I told the principals, it's not necessarily a bid item, it's on the revenue side. But I want you, if you have more than one vendor come to you, I want you to bid that, because give everybody fair opportunity and let these local business people get an opportunity to get our business.
So out of these three, I know one of them is local. Is Cardinal local?
Cardinal is out of Lewisburg,
Okay.
and
Life Touch?
Life Touch. Gosh. I'm not sure. They might have a local salesperson, but,
I just wondered.
I don't know for sure on them. They only do a couple of schools, 2 or 3. But yeah, we like to keep it local if we can. It says here they're Westchester, Ohio, actually. So that one would not be local. Last item is surplus, or number 4 is surplus property. And so Mount Nebo has some electronic equipment that they would like to surplus. Item 5 is a request to travel out of state. There's a correction to the agenda on that. Instead of being Louisville, it should be New Orleans, and the date should be November the 17th through the 19th. And it's in association with the Speech Language Association Convention, and it's paid out of special ed funds. So that one, the permission form was in error sent to Kim and maybe Melissa to put on the agenda. So complete, different place, different dates.
Okay.
We had to go pull it up out of the flow system, and so that was like the one that came to the top of the list, and that's what we pulled out of there. And
So it's the same people, but they're going,
yeah,
Yes.
and the location was where?
They are going to New Orleans, November the 17th through the 19th.
Hey, Kevin, before we get too far from it, that Life Touch that we just talked about, I don't know if it makes a bit of difference or not, but they have, of course, contact person Kevin has, title school board member.
Oh, do they?
We're just paying you too much.
That's true. That's true.
He makes a lot more than we do. What are you talking about?
That's what I said.
Sure. It's a school board member, yeah.
Well, I'll call them tomorrow and get that changed. Just make sure there's no confusion. That's all that I have for finance, unless you have any other questions.
Yeah.
Do I need, do I have a motion to accept the consent items under finance? 1, 2, 3, and the contracts and the bids.
So moved.
Dr. Penny made the motion?
Just 1, 2, 3, is that?
Well,
Is that all you're doing?
everything that he went over, payment of current invoices, transfers and supplements, contracts,
Yeah.
A and B, bids, A, B, and C, and then surplus property. So, Dr. Penix made that motion, correct?
That's right.
I think, didn't you talk about that out of state travel?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, 5A. You include that, sir, right?
Yes.
Seconded by
I'll second.
Mr. Green. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Personnel, do we have a reason to go into executive session?
Yes.
Need?
Yes.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel.
Okay. Motion made by Dr. Penny, seconded by.
Second. Can't find it.
Okay, do we have a motion to come out of the executive session?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Green makes a motion, seconded by Dr. Penix. All in favor? At 8:45. Okay, personnel.
Yeah, you have before you the updated personnel agenda. The changes are in red and highlighted in yellow. I did make a copy available to the press and to members of the public, but I will read the changes. On page 1 for Renee Rader, her effective date is upon release from Fayette County Schools. Toward the bottom, Cameron Hornsby, employee in the position of special education teacher at Nicholas County High School, effective upon WVDE approval. And Andrew Gilson, employed in the position of principal at Golly River Elementary School, effective, and I didn't get the effective date in there. Effective the September 7th, 2022. On page 2, employed in a position of substitute custodian pending return of a successful background check for
Devin Bussard, Elizabeth Walcott, Preston Brown, Jennifer Jenkins, John Davidson, Catherine McCutcheon, Tammy Kaufman, Annalisa Beal, employing a position of substitute cook pending the return of a successful background check, Vanessa McClung, Devin Bussard, Jennifer Jenkins, Patricia Bennett. We removed from the agenda the transportation instruction aide at Nicholas County High School. I will be reposting that. Then Becky Parsons, employee in the position of 101 Transportation Instruction Aide 4 for a student currently enrolled at Somersville Middle School effective September 7th. There are no changes to page 3. On page 4, Connie Davis, employed in the position of after-school cook at Birch River Elementary School. Lita Berry Boggs, employing the position of after-school cook at Summersville Elementary School. We're going to have to repost the cook at Golly River. Barbara Voice, employed in the position of after-school cook at Cherry River. We're going to have to repost the Birch River Elementary bus. Carl Johnson, employed in the position of after-school bus operator at Somersville Elementary School. Tammy Rader, employed in the position of after-school bus operator for Golly River. And Delbert Copenhaver, employed in the position of after-school bus operator for Cherry River Elementary, and all of those are effective at the direction of the building principal. On page 5, permission to post and hire one extracurricular bus operator to transport students between NCHS and RHS to be paid for with county funds. Permission to post and hire one community engagement specialist for Nicholas County Schools to be paid for with Save the Children grant funds. Permission to post and hire one social studies foreign language teacher for Richwood High School to be paid for with county funds. Permission to post and hire one assistant principal for Richwood High School, Golly River Elementary, also to be paid for with county funds. Under the step 3 pay increases, we added Caitlin Russell, Christy Lott-Buck, and Caitlin Elliott. And on page 6, permission for the superintendent to post and hire substitutes and after-school positions until September 19th, 2022. And then on page 7, our employee leave requests, and I will not read those aloud to protect the privacy of our employees.
Melissa, we need to go back to page 1 on Andrew Gilson. That one we probably need to have to be determined. I need to work on a transitioning plan.
Okay.
Getting him there.
Okay. Can I say at the direction of the superintendent?
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda, except for the approval of the step 3 pay increases? We're not going to vote on that. We're going to vote on that separate. So, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda, except the approval of the step 3 pay increases?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Berry made the motion, seconded by Dr. Penix. Any discussion? All in favor?
No, why are we, why are we leaving out step 3?
Because Mr. Green has to excuse himself from that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You're fine. Any other discussions, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So now, is there going to be any discussion on the approval of the step 3? If so, Mr. Green will have to step out. Any discussion on that? Okay. So do we have a motion to accept the step 3 pay increases pursuant to West Virginia Code 18A-4
So moved.
2D-3?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Moose made the motion, seconded by Dr. Penix. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. That brings us to the superintendent's information, construction planning, architectural update.
I don't have anything new to report other than our next board meeting. We should have a plan to present to this board for Cherry River. And if this board approves it, it'll be moved on to the SBA and go out for bid.
Okay. Number 9, reports. Dr. Penix, SESC.
I was unable to attend the meeting this month. I'll catch it next month, so.
Okay. B, Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
I did not attend the last meeting, so I have nothing to report.
Okay. Delegations we took care of earlier. 11, items for future agendas.
Report, well, we're gonna get it anyway.
Right. Right.
But I'd like to have one every meeting, but from now on.
Well,
I mean, even if it's got, if it's going remote, okay, I don't care. But I think we need to know something about what's going on every meeting. And the public needs to have something. So I can bring it, I can add it every time.
okay. Anybody else?
I'll be remote for our next meeting on the 19th, so
Okay.
get that fixed up somehow.
All right. Future meeting dates. These are all regular meetings, Monday, September 19th, 2022 at the board office. Start time 6. Monday, October 3rd, 2022 right here at the board office. Start time 6. Monday, October 17th, 2022, also at the board office. Start time at 6 p.m. And do we have a motion for adjournment? Oh,
Fall
sorry.
conference, I guess we'll get that from Shirley on remote.
On the remote, how to access?
Yeah.
It should be coming out tomorrow.
Coming from her, right,
Okay.
okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Commissioner.
Nothing else.
Anything else, anybody?
The conference does start Friday at 1 o'clock, and in Charleston, or remotes.
1 o'clock. Well, we'll be getting a schedule too, won't we?
You get a program that
Yeah.
lists all the things that are going to cover.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
I'll say.
Mr. Berry made the motion, seconded by Dr. Penix. Any discussion? All in favor? At 9:55, 8:55, excuse me.